Jerry Jones is a better boss for anyone than Dan Schneider, who's arguably the worst owner in the NFL. The problem is this with Dan Snyder teams, and he's the constant throughout this. You know, like you could say, well, Jerry Jones teams don't ultimately, right, they don't ultimately, but usually going into the year on paper, you go, they're pretty good. And a lot of years, they have good records, make the playoffs, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm an NFC East fan. Molly, so are you. You know how it is.
Yeah.
In the beginning of the season, you look at the schedule, and you're like, you know, the Eagles, that's going to be a tough game. They always play us tough, no matter how good we are. Cowboys usually have a respectable roster. Oh, okay, we got those 2 games.
I'm already like, we got Chase Young next year. It's all
Washington.
us.
Washington is the
What
team.
I am. You want the truth?
Yeah, Washington is the team you are happy to have on your schedule in the NFC East. Even when they're good, they ain't that good. Yeah. When they're good, they're 8-8. You know, like and they're a bad franchise because they got a bad owner. Jerry Jones, whatever you want to say, he's not a bad owner. His own ego inhibits his team's chances of winning a Super Bowl. But the Cowboys do better than a lot of teams. The answer is Jerry Jones.
Believe it or not, I'm going to say the answer is Daniel Snyder. Let me put it in its proper context, just to remind the world. The Washington Redskins won the Super Bowl in 1991. That is
28,000 years ago.
28 years ago.
Yeah.
Since that time, they have made the playoffs 6 times in 28 years. And they have won 3 playoff games in 28 years. So to speak to the level of ineptitude that has ravaged the nation's capital, it's so bad that people mistake the politics that exist there for football because they don't have a football team to rely on. That's how bad it is. When we say, you know how they use the word political football? That's where it comes from. Because in the nation's capital, damn it, at least it's competitive in politics. At least the politics
Don't get Max started,
no, I'm just saying, at least the politics that take place on Capitol Hill, I mean, the political football that's going on, is better than what's happened at FedEx Field. That's how awful it's been. Which is exactly why, if you're Urban Meyer, and you have a choice, and I'm not saying he should, because I don't think both situations would be ideal for him. I think Daniel Snyder is the better situation. Daniel Snyder is in no position to get in Urban Meyer's way. He's so bad. Their franchise has been so bad. And the nation's capital is fully aware that it's been so bad. And he's devoid of the love that, because let me tell you something, Max, I promise you, you spend an hour with Jerry Jones, you'll love him. That's my buddy right there. I love me some Jerry Jones, man. I love being around the guy. I mean, he's a great guy to be around. You understand? And people in Dallas, they love that man. Let's be very clear. They might complain about stuff with Dallas, but they love that man.
I've dealt with Jerry Jones around those Pacquiao fights at Cal. You know,
Max,
he's a good guy.
He's one of him. Stephen Jones, Scoopy. Listen, you love these guys. That's not the kind of love Daniel Snyder experiences. If Urban Meyer came to the nation's capital, there would be people outside the Redskins facility like, Daniel Snyder, you get in this man's way? You say, we're going to do something to you. You better leave this man alone. That's what Urban Meyer would have available to him, which is why I say that's a better situation for him than Dallas with Jerry Jones.
Personality traits matter. And in the conversation about going to coach for Dallas, you know 2 things. Somebody's always over your shoulder, and somebody always going to have the final say. And that's the issue when you, even now when we talk about Jason Garrett losing his job, the next guy has to immediately understand that there will be the owner on the sidelines, in the locker room. Players will go to him before they go to you if that relationship exists. That is a problem. And I'm not sure, to your point, Stephen H., people love Jerry. I love Jerry. Love Stephen. Have known him. Provided, paid me, family straight, because I played for the Cowboys, all of that stuff. Saying all of that said, when you're a head coach in that particular situation, you have to accept things that you wouldn't normally have to accept other places by being infiltrated on by all of these things that they want to go on. It's
the same thing as in Washington, he's owned the team, Dan Schneider, since 1999. So for the vast majority of the years that Stephen A. points out that they're a laughingstock, That's Dan Snyder's
Max,
team.
but it's
So
magnified.
it's the same thing.
It's magnified in Dallas.
Except it's not as glamorous.
Listen to how sorry this conversation is at this point. We're talking about who's been better at being worse.
Yeah.
Like that is
sad.
That is sad.
Yeah.
When you think about these two
But I
franchises.
don't think Jerry Jones
and the
is a
history-
bad owner. I think Jerry Jones, if you had to rank the owners, I bet you he's in the top half.
But we're equating football success. We like beyond
Not
the owners.
making money.
We are talking about football success. When we start talking about when you hire a coach, it's particularly for football success. Urban Meyer is better served in a position in Washington because Dan Schneider has the propensity at times to stay out of the way. That guy is not going to allow you to do your job at 100%. It's not going to happen. We've been saying it for years. The Cowboys won't be straight until Jerry relinquishes power, until Jerry gets out of the way.
We're talking
and
about winning a Super Bowl. Washington just make the playoffs.
But that's my
for
point,
crying out
Max.
loud.
That's my point. They were in position with Alex Smith. They were at least better. If they bring Urban Meyer in, the expectation from Urban Meyer, and he's smart enough to say that to Dan Snyder, let me do what I do.
Real quick, that's why when we talk about Cleveland and we say Kitchens or Dorsey, I go all the way up to Haslam.
Yeah.
If you're the owner, and there's an organizational problem, I believe it starts with you. Whatever you want to say about Kraft, obviously his organization is tight.
But it
right?
comes back to the fact that with Jerry Jones, he may not let you do your job. Daniel Snyder has no choice. If you're Urban Meyer, who's won 85% of his games, last time we saw him at Ohio State, 90% winning percentage, you can't tell him anything. Washington would be the place for him to go. Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.